Talk about the situation tonight with Colombian President Ivan Duque Marquez. Mr. President, thanks for the time.
Thank you so much, Brad. It's a great pleasure to be here in your program.
You had this meeting today in the Oval Office with the President. How would you describe that meeting? What was the focus?
I think it was a great meeting because, first of all, in Colombia, we have received a strong support from the U.S. administration in our fight against terrorism, in our fight against drugs. But at the same time, we have been developing a very broad commercial and trade agenda, investment agenda. So I think that was very important to strengthen the ties between our nations. But also, we talked about the situation in Venezuela, and we share the commitment that the dictatorship in Venezuela must come to an end, and that there has to be an opportunity for the Venezuelan people to rebuild their institutions.
From your discussions, what is the best way, do you think, for the disputed President Maduro to leave?
Well, the first thing, Brett, is that what we have seen in the last month and a half is really unprecedented. We have built a diplomatic blockade that has put the regime under pressure. Most of the countries in the Western Hemisphere have supported President Guaido, now the European Union, and this has isolated Maduro. And now you're seeing members of the military playing loyalty to Juan Guaido, and I think this is going to generate a domino effect. For me, this is the end. Now, whether it's going to take 1 month or more, I don't know. But the message is clear. Maduro has to step out, and the whole international community is sending a strong message.
It does not sound from Maduro that he plans to go anywhere. He's talking here to the BBC about the U.S. Listen.
They hate us and belittle us because they only believe in their own interests and in the interests of the United States. So in this battle that we are fighting for Venezuela, I am telling you it is a battle that goes further than our country. I call upon the people of the world to wake up, open your eyes to see that it is an aggression against a peaceful country.
So could Maduro be president or disputed president of Venezuela 1 year from now?
Well, the first thing is that the message he has gotten from the international community is that he doesn't have any legitimacy. The National Assembly is the only legitimate democratic power in Venezuela, and Juan Guaido is the only legitimate president of Venezuela. Now, Juan Guaido needs to lead the transformation of all the institutions and the recovery to democracy. The steps that we expect to happen in the next weeks is, first of all, the humanitarian aid needs to get in Venezuela. The message that Juan Guaido sent today, that he wants to have the caravans on the 23rd, well, we're going to support that. But also, I think that looking at members of the military that are not playing any more loyalty to Maduro, and now they're committing to supporting Guaido, is going to generate a domino effect.
Have you seen defections from Venezuela's military into Colombia?
We have seen a recent defection. One of the most significant strategists in the Air Force left Venezuela, and he's now playing loyalty to Juan Guaido. I think that was a very
2,000, right, Mr. President? 2,000 Venezuelan generals, and is there a concern that not more of them are defecting?
I believe that this is going to happen, as I said, in a domino effect. But I must also say something, Brett. Well, you're seeing the people in the streets of Venezuela supporting the assembly, supporting Guaido. People are claiming for humanitarian aid. And let me be honest, what we see in Venezuela is the worst humanitarian crisis in Latin America's recent history. We have seen people leaving Venezuela. We have 1.2 million Venezuelans in Colombia that have gone to our country because they have hunger, they have frozen bones. They're just waiting to a new opportunity. I believe that now, with this diplomatic blockade, now with the people in Venezuela calling for the regime to end, and now seeing all the defections in the military, this is the most important signal that this time is different.
You know, Maduro said that if, he said in another interview, if the American empire dares to touch even one palm leaf in our territory, this will turn into a new Vietnam. Did you talk about U.S. military action?
What I've said always publicly, Brett, is that Maduro has always tried to use the threat of military intervention to try to get legitimacy. I think what has been different in this case from all their experiences in Latin America is that the diplomatic blockade has been so strong and with such a determination that he's completely isolated. Now, do you need a military intervention in this case? I think now, with all the international support President Guaido has, the military of Venezuela are going to start generating more defections, and that is just going to be the end of the Maduro regime.
Matter of time. You know, Rich mentioned it in his piece, but the National Security Advisor John Bolton had this pad, and I'm sure you're aware of it, at a briefing in which it said on there 5,000 U.S. troops to Colombia. So have you seen any additional U.S. troops? Have they been requested or sent to your country?
No, we have not received 5,000 troops. I mean, I'm not good at reading notepads, that I said yesterday, said today to John Bolton. But what I think more than what the notepad said is that the whole world needs to be united to call for the end of the dictatorship in Venezuela.
So is it possible he could get exile or amnesty or some kind of for Maduro to get out of there?
I don't know if amnesty it's a solution, because at the end he has been an international criminal.
Yeah.
I personally denounce him at the International Criminal Court, and I think he has to respond for the systematic crimes he has committed in Venezuela. Now, is he going to leave to another country? Maybe yes. That's the path many dictators have faced in different circumstances in history, and maybe that's going to be the fate of Maduro. But most importantly, that where he goes to, the most important thing is that Venezuela needs to have a rebirth of its democratic institutions, and I am positive and optimistic that Juan Guaido is the leader to make that change.
And are you really worried about a civil war in Venezuela?
I don't see the risk of a civil war, because there's one simple thing, Brad, to tell. People are tired of the dictatorship. People have lost everything they had. Venezuela needs a reconstruction, and the reconstruction is the best path for all the citizens. Who represents that path to change is Juan Guaido. So I think he has the stamina, he has the character, he has the vision, and he has the capacity to lead the country into this transformation.
I want to ask you two more things. Obviously, right now, a lot of focus here on Capitol Hill about President's effort on a wall on the southern border. Your thoughts about that and how to reduce the migration from Central America through Mexico into the U.S., which obviously President Trump sees as a big concern.
I've always said that if you want to control migration in Central America, there has to be more capacity building in terms of entrepreneurship and the capacity to generate formal jobs. Now, what that implies is that there has to be more investment. I can tell you, for example, from the standpoint of Colombia, Colombia is the second source of foreign direct investment in some of the countries in Central America. The U.S. is number one. What needs to be done is that we have more possibilities to have more investment and to make those countries more integrated into trade within the whole region or the whole hemisphere. That could be a way to prevent those migrations. And definitely, I'm not going to...
You okay with the wall?
I'm not going to get into domestic politics, because, you know, this is an issue that has to be discussed within Capitol Hill, and the White House is leading the debate. So I'm not going to get into the domestic debate. But what I think is that all of the countries need to work on comprehensive migration policies.
Last thing, the President mentioned it, the level of coca production in your country. Has it fallen, and is it with U.S. help?
I had a great challenge, Brett. When I took office, I said to the Colombian people that in the last 5 years, there was an exponential growth. The coca crops passed from 60,000 hectares to more than 180,000. So from the first day, I decided that we have to put an end to that exponential growth and that we have to eradicate. We eradicated, during my first 4 months in the administration, 60,000 hectares. We need to do more? Yes, we do, because we need to have, first, a containment of that exponential growth, and my goal is to have a reduction of more than 50 or 60% by the end of my administration.
Mr. President, we appreciate your time. You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you so much, Brett. It has been a great pleasure.
Safe travels.